You know, you walk into a massive sports bar on a Sunday, you look up and you see like 50 different screens all playing the exact same 4K game,
Right.
and they're all perfectly synced with zero lag. It feels like magic, but today we're looking at the actual mechanical reality operating behind that drywall.
Yeah, because getting high-quality video across a massive commercial space is, well, it's completely different from just plugging an HDMI cable into your living room TV.
It really is. So we got our hands on the spec sheet for the Blustream HSP14CS-V2. That is a 4-way HDBaseT splitter from HDTVSupply. And our mission today is to decode the heavy-duty AV tech making those setups actually work.
Right, because pushing 4K video over long HDMI runs is, it's like trying to drive a high-speed train over cheap, unmaintained tracks.
Exactly. Eventually the signal degrades, the hardware handshake fails, and the screen just goes black.
Yeah.
Plus, you typically have to plug in a separate power supply at every single endpoint to keep the signal alive, which is a total nightmare.
It is. And what's fascinating here is how HDBaseT technology solves that exact problem.
Yeah.
I mean, this Blustream device takes a data-heavy 4K 60 Hz video signal, complex audio, wide-directional IR control, and even electricity.
Wait, electricity too?
Yeah, using power over cable.
Yeah.
And it forces all of that through a single standard CCAT cable.
Wow.
It is still wild to me that we are pushing up to 18 gigabits per second of uncompressed video plus power through the exact same copper network cables we use to, plug in office printers.
Just a standard Ethernet cable. And doing it over massive distances, too. The specs show it pushing a 1080p signal up to 70 meters or a highly detailed 4K signal up to 40 meters without the signal degrading at all.
Right, 40 meters of 4K over one CK cable is no joke.
Okay, let's unpack this, though, because in the real world, hardware environments are messy. What if a business has, say, 3 brand new 4K TVs, but they still have one older 1080p screen just hanging out in the corner?
The classic lowest common denominator problem.
Right. Doesn't the EDID handshake usually panic and force all the brand new TVs to downgrade to that lowest common resolution so the system doesn't crash?
Yeah, historically, the whole matrix would just bottleneck. That is exactly what usually breaks commercial systems. But this is where the Blustream really earns its keep with independent downscaling.
Okay.
The splitter actually intelligently custom tailors the output for each specific screen right at the hardware level.
Oh, so the 4K screens keep their native UHD while the older screen gets a perfectly scaled 1080p feed simultaneously.
Oh, exactly, yeah. They all run at their own optimal resolution.
I did notice one technical caveat in the specs regarding that downscaling, though. It says it doesn't support 4K 4.2.2 input signals. Why that specific format?
Well, it can't downscale 4.2.2 chroma subsampling
Right.
because the way that specific color data is compressed, it just requires way too much processing overhead for on-the-fly splitting.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, but for your standard 4.4.4 or 4.2.0 commercial video signals, the downscaling works perfectly fine.
Okay, so we've solved the visual bottleneck. But a sports bar with great video and, out-of-sync compressed audio is still a terrible experience.
Oh, definitely.
How is this single CCAT cable handling surround sound alongside all that video data?
It's pushing bitstream pass-through of multi-channel surround sound, so that includes complex object-based audio formats right alongside the video. But the real standout feature for commercial spaces is actually the HDMI loop out.
The loop out.
Right. For $1,345, you aren't just getting a static 4-way splitter. That loop out lets you connect this device to another splitter and then another, which allows for practically infinite system expansion.
Wait, if I loop out to 3 or 4 different splitters, aren't I adding latency at every hop? Like, how does the system keep all 50 screens perfectly synced if the signal is constantly daisy chaining?
Good question. The splitter actively manages the clock timing of the signal at every single hop. It basically buffers and distributes the audio and video packets so tightly that the human eye and ear just can't detect the millisecond differences.
So it keeps the entire chain unified.
Exactly.
That is incredible. So to you listening, the next time you are sitting in a sports bar, marveling at those synchronized screens, you'll know exactly the kind of invisible, heavy lifting technology making it happen behind the scenes.
Yeah, and it really leaves you with something to think about. I mean, if a single standard CK cable can flawlessly carry 4K video, complex audio, control data, and power over 40 meters today, we have to wonder, when will the humble AC power outlet behind the TV become obsolete entirely?